The Cowboys report for training camp tomorrow, but it's news about Dak's future in Dallas that's grabbing the headlines. When asked if Dak wanted to stay in Dallas long term, one former anonymous Cowboys coach said, quote, "At this point, no, I don't think so." So, Shannon, do you agree that Dak doesn't want to be in Dallas long term?
Skip, I don't think that's the case at all. I really don't think it's a situation where Dak does not want to be in Dallas. But I think he wants the Cowboys to compensate him fairly. He's disappointed, Skip, because he's watched for the 4 years he's been there since 2016. He's watched guy after guy after guy get paid. And not one time did Jerry or Stephen Jones tell them, "I need you to take a haircut so we can pay the next guy." And when it came that time for Dak to get his money, the first thing out of their mouths before they even started negotiating was Dak need to work with the team. Dak needs to realize that he plays for the Dallas Cowboys. He plays quarterback in Dallas and the other opportunities off the field. They never mentioned any of that with any other player before Dak. And so Dak is like, hold on, wait a minute. Why now is it all of a sudden of grave importance that I give you a haircut when you never ask any of those other guys to give you a discount? So because, you didn't say Jalen, Dak, Zeke, I need you guys to give me a haircut because you know we got our quarterback. And you know it's going to cost us a lot of money to get the quarterback signed. They didn't do that. Skip, Dak might have been willing to work with them. Had they gone to Dak, like the Eagles went to Wentz, like the Rams went to Jared Goff, like my homeboy team came to him. 2 years left on the deal. Okay, let's get something done. You let the guy play the deal completely out, run the risk of having knock on wood, Skip, nothing happened. But having an Alex Smith, glad to see he got cleared. He can come back and play. But God forbid he has that type of injury, Skip. So you want him to give you a discount? I think that's what's the price is. Skip, they could have got Dak Prescott. They wanted Dak Prescott for somewhere between 34 and 35. You know that price is never going to happen again, don't you? You know that. Because when did you say Jared Jones bought the Cowboys? 1989? Jerry Jones bought the Cowboys. Let's say he played, and the stories fluctuate between 120 and 140 million. Do you believe Jerry Jones could have bought that team in 1990 or 1991 for 120 to 140 million dollars? The lowest he was ever going to buy that team is when he bought them. The lowest he was ever going to get Dak Prescott at 34, 35 million was last year. And when that didn't happen, the price is going to continue to go up. So if you think you thought you was going to get him at 34 million, it's only going to go up, Skip. And what hurts them is that, let's just say, we could talk about this a little later, the cap. Now, the cap gets to stay at 198 this year. According to how the revenue goes, it can't go below 175. If Dak's on the books next year for $37 million, you talking about you didn't want him to be more than 14%. That's 21% of your cap. So now what are you doing? And that's what you always try to do, Skip. You try to identify your quarterback, got him on a young, easy contract, build around him, let's go for it. We saw what Seattle did. You see now Mahomes gave him a discount so they can go get keep Frank Clark and sign a few other guys. Keep a lot of their core guys, Skip.
Chris Jones.
Chris Jones. Chris Jones. Dak is not going to do that, Skip. Because he's like, Jerry, Steven, you don't believe in me. You say all these things publicly, but privately, the conversations that I've had with my agent leads us to believe that you're not sure of what I'm capable of doing. And since you feel that way, and since I'm having to go out and prove myself again, I'm going to get every last nickel that you can possibly pay me.
So I hear everything you just said. I hear about this report from Dallas. None of this is any surprise to me, unfortunately. I told you the last day we were on this show, the day after the deadline came and the deadline went without a deal, I told you it was the beginning of the end of Dak in Dallas. And I still believe that, unfortunately, with all my heart and soul.
Oh, his side or their sides, or both?
A little of both, but especially on Dak's side. And we both agreed, once his brother immediately tweeted, I never was much of a Cowboy fan, and I'm going to find it really hard to root for the Dallas Cowboys next year.
Even though my brother's on the team.
Even though he's the face of the franchise. Once I read that, you know and I know where that came from. It came from the emotions of his younger brother, Dak. That was Tad about Dak. and he knew there was some bad blood that had just spilled all over the floor.
Yep.
And we read the Yahoo report that Jerry Jones never quite got over getting the rug jerked out from underneath him after the first game by the fairly new, that's Todd France, the fairly new agent of Dak Prescott. And again, just to summarize it, Dak bet on himself going into the season. Jerry said after game one, big performance by Dak against, albeit the Giants, Jerry Jones said, our deal is imminent. It will be done in days. All we need to do is cross some T's and dot some I's because we have agreed on the key point. The money has been agreed upon. We have a sort of a verbal handshake deal on the money. And all of a sudden, Jerry was apprised, no, we don't. Our price just went up. And then after the game at Washington, it went up a little bit more. And after the game against Miami at home, it went up a whole lot more. And Jerry said, okay, I'm out. You have done me dirty. I don't play this way. When it comes to negotiating, a man's word is his bond. And you broke your bond. And here we go. So you bet on yourself for 3 games. We'll keep betting on yourself. And over the last 13 games, Dak wasn't great. Even as big a fan as I am, and I still believe in him as a football player, I just got to tell you, I had time. We were off for a week. This sank in for me. It settled in the back of my brain. I'm just disappointed in my man, Dak Prescott. I don't like the way he played this. I still believe Jerry made him a very fair offer. I'm told it was $36 million, but 34, 35, 36. $36 million with 80 of it guaranteed at signing. That's a lot.
That is.
And I thought it was a fair deal. I won't go great. I won't go.
It was respectable. People said disrespect, but it was a very respectable offer.
It was a respectable offer to a young man who's been very good, but he hasn't been Patrick Mahomes. I rank him 9th or 10th, so I got him at the bottom of the top 10, which is still very, very good. And I think you would agree somewhere 10 to 15-ish, somewhere in there.
Absolutely.
Okay, but he's not that guy who just got that big deal. But the harder we look at the Mahomes deal, it looks very Brady-esque. It's actually team-friendly. Now, the annuals are up. They're $45 million. And I believe Dak was shooting for somewhere close to that, 42, 43 million a year. And Jerry just said, no, that's too rich for even my blood. And by the way, forced now to accept the tag, I want to remind everybody, Dak Prescott now makes, starting tomorrow, I guess, as they go to camp, he now makes $10.5 million more than any other overpaid Cowboy. Anybody, DeMarcus Lawrence, Amari Cooper, name them, $10.5 million more go to the quarterback because he makes $31.4 million under the tag. That's about 16% of the total cap. That's pretty high. But to your point, if you tag him again and it goes to 38-ish million, now it's up to 22% of the cap. And that's just too much. And so Jerry's saying, I don't know what to do with this because I got backed into a corner. There is bad blood. There's injured pride going on here. And Jerry's saying, well, when I tag him, the 31.4 for this year, I can't do any funny business with it. It just is what it is.
Because you can't prorate it. It's 1 year. It's all 31.4, 2020.
You can't sort of leak part of it through a loophole over here, a loophole. It's just boom, you're done.
It's all there.
And you're stuck with it. And I don't think Jerry loves doing business this way, but he got backed into a corner, and I think his pride got rubbed raw. And it's a sad situation for a quarterback I still love. It feels like a fractured fairy tale to me.
Skip, most of the people that I know that's in front office, be it Ozzie Newsome, John Elway, Mike Shanahan, a lot of the great, say by the third year, you should know what you have in a guy. If you don't know what you got in the third year, move on. If you didn't know what you got in Dak Prescott by the third year.
But given the offer that was on the table, I think Jerry said, we have a very good quarterback. We don't have Patrick Mahomes. We don't have Tom Brady. We don't have Drew Brees, but we got one we can win with.
I think the thing is, when you look at Mahomes' deal, Skip, although it's not a lot of money in the first 3 years of the deal, over the life of the contract, $45 million, it's going to be a while before someone makes $45 annually per season. And I think he says, okay, I'm willing to work with you over the first couple of years to make sure we can keep this thing together. Because like you said, Skip, you know, Travis Kelce's going to want a new deal. There's going to be a lot of guys that's wanting new deals. And I don't want, because theoretically, Skip, Kansas City, if Pat Mahomes said, look, guys, this is what I want. I want $120 million. When I sign my name, I want $120 million. And I want to make $45 million over the next 8, 9, 10 years. I mean, what are they going to say?
But they got flexibility around all those years. You can play with it. You can do things. You can renegotiate it.
Even if you do that, Skip, you said, okay, if we give him $120 million, we can prorate that over 12 years. That's still only $10 million. So even if we pay him $15 million base, we still well with under the cap.
We're good.
We good.
So what did Tom Brady do for all those 20 years? He took under market value to allow Belichick to maximize his supporting cast and maximize the defense. Right. And I thought Dak, I've called him Brady-esque, and I thought he would operate under the same sort of mindset. And somehow it went completely south. And then the new plot twist that I read in this article we're referring to, that Dak is still upset that Jerry fired Jason Garrett. I did not know. I knew he liked Jason Garrett, but now you're actually holding a grudge against Jerry for that?
Because I believe in the beginning, Jerry wanted to go back to Tony Romo. It was Jason Garrett that was fighting for Dak Prescott after with the success that they had early. Remember, Skip, the reports were Jerry really, really, really likes Tony. That's his guy. He was box office. And Jason, it was reported that Jason Garrett and Steven says you can't do this. You know, Dad, we can't. I mean,
well, this will not exactly be music to the ears of one Mike McCarthy, who starts tomorrow officially as the new Cowboy coach, because he's got to think, well, my franchise quarterback was all in on the guy who got fired, right?
And that normally, well, Skip, you got to win him over. That normally happens, Skip. That normally, especially. But see, the differences between Dak and Tom Brady, Skip, is that Tom Brady saw everybody give haircuts. It wasn't like,
no, that's true.
It wasn't like,
agree.
this guy right here, well, he got all this, and Tom is looking like, well, hold on. You say I need to take a haircut so we can pay all these other guys. But everybody, with the exception of Stephon Gilmore, had given a haircut. So Dak is like, man, D-Law got a head full of hair. Look at Amari. Look at Zeke. And you want to give me a haircut. I can't. And so it rubbed Dak the wrong way, Skip. There's going to be a lot of healing going to have to take place.
Okay, but I still don't love the fact that Dak is clinging to a coach who was there for 9 years and missed the playoffs 6 times in 9 years. And Dak still believes in Jason Garrett. I know because Jason believed in him.
There you go.
Okay, but they had 2 really good years together. Remember, 13-3 and 10-6.
Right.
And they had 2 not so good years together. That was Jason's epitaph in Dallas. 8-8. Up, down, up, down, up, down, 8-8.
But what if a lot of what was going on is that Dak realized that's not Jason Garrett. That's the guy upstairs.
Okay. Well, if your heart's not in it, then you should go somewhere else.
Well, he tried to.
And we should look for somebody else.
We tried to.
Yeah.
We tried to go ahead and do, because you didn't want to do right. All you had to do was just let us be free, and then we can show you what the market is.
Well, all I can say, bottom line, there's only one way Dak Prescott now is going to retire a Dallas Cowboy, and that is in one of the next 2 years, he has to lift this team into a Super Bowl. If he does that, I believe he will get the long-term deal up in the Mahomes range somewhere. I believe he would get that, but he's going to have to do that, and obviously the odds are not with that.
But see, Skip, remember what happened? Remember Joe Flacco? For $2 million, you could have had Joe Flacco at a nice little contract, and you roll the dice, and he messed around and went to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl MVP.
He did.
And for the next 3 years, he was the highest paid player in the NFL. And that's what Jerry Jones is about to be up against. Now, he let Dak Prescott get to the Super Bowl, Skip.
Okay, but Jerry, it's been so long, since 1995, since Jerry was in a Super Bowl, the 95 season.
Right.
I believe if Dak got him just got him into the game, that he would give him his deal. Okay. That's what I believe.
I sure hope so. Geez, that's what the guy wants. He wants it now. All right, let's move on to some players on the move around the league. Safety Jamal Adams said he's now a, quote, man on a mission after being traded from the Jets to the Seahawks. Seattle sent 2 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and safety Bradley McDougald in exchange for Adams and a third-round pick. So, Shannon, was this a good deal or a bad deal for Seattle?
Skip, I've gone back and forth with this. And when I look at it, looking at it from Seattle's perspective, I know Jamal Adams is going to get traded. There's no way he can go back in that locker room having said what he said in that interview about the head coach. So I know he's got to leave. Why would I give up why would I give up 2 first-rounders, Skip? I believe they could have had Jamal Adams for a first and a third. Now, maybe Seattle's looking at it over the last 3 or 4 years. They haven't drafted well later in the rounds. And they're saying, you know what? We feel that where we're going to be drafting, high 20s, hopefully maybe even the 30s, the guy that we could possibly get is not going to be that guy. You're talking about a guy that's an all-pro, a 2-time Pro Bowl. He can play a lot of different positions. He can do a lot of different things. But 2 first-rounders and a third, Skip, that's what the hell they gave up to get Khalil Mack. Chicago gave up that to get Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack was the player of the year. That's a whole lot to give up for a safety, Skip. Now, I'm not saying that people are like, well, he's not Ed Reed. Look, he doesn't have to be Ed Reed. You're talking about the top. You're talking about the top of the top when you talk about Reed. But I believe he's a game-changing safety, Skip. He plays a lot of different positions. And is Seattle going to use him like the Jets used him? Because, Skip, if you just say, okay, we want you to play safety, you're going to play strong or you're going to play the free. But Greg Williams lined him up at linebacker. He put him over the slot. He blitzed him a lot. He put him in coverage. So he played a lot of different positions. In order for you to get the bang for your buck, Seattle's going to have to use him like the Jets used him, or else you wasted 2 first-round picks. Now, he says he's on a mission. I believe in order for Seattle to do this deal, Skip, they had to feel they can get this man to sign, because you'd be foolish to give up 2 firsts and a third and not sign him. So he knows he's going to be the highest-paid safety after this season. I believe where the Jets made the mistake, Skip, this is how it works with athletes, and I'm talking about having played in the National Football League, Skip. You're my general manager. I come to you and I say, Skip, I think I performed this contract. I've done everything you're asking me to do. I've been an all-pro. I've been Pro Bowl player, and I'm the leader. I'm the captain. I'm the leader of the team, one of the leaders of the team. We're going to get it done. Skip, if you tell me we're going to get it done, I'm expecting you to get it done. Now, I come back to you, here we are 9 months later, Skip, and we're not going to be able to do anything. Well, see, we got a problem. Because you lied to me, Skip. You told me, if you told me I'm not going to be able to do anything, I'm going to be upset, but at least you were honest with me. You were upfront, say, Shannon, we're not going to be able to get it done. But if you tell a player that you're going to get that contract done, and he comes to you and says, what's up, and he don't get it done, Skip, it's over.
Over.
So they had no, at this juncture, the Jets had no choice but to move Jamal Adams. But Seattle played a steep price for a safety. 2 1s and a 3? Skip, that's steep.
Seattle dangerously overpaid for Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams has proven to me over 3 years to be more trouble than he will ever be worth. And again, he's known to make constant waves on social media and cause nothing but trouble in his own locker room. And did you see what he already tweeted earlier today? He already tweeted how upset he was that Seattle put him on a 7 a.m. flight this morning, and then he deleted the tweet. But he was complaining about, how could you put me on a 7 a.m., make me get up that early for that kind of flight?
Well, I mean, what do you think? Seattle lives right around the corner?
It's not around the corner. It's about as far as you can get.
Yes, and if you're in New York, Skip, that's 6 hours.
And they need him to have a media session there. They want him to meet everybody and get situated and get rolling into their training camp, which I'm sure opens in the next day or two.
Right.
So the point is, he's already up to his old tricks on social media. He lives on social media, which is not always a bad thing unless it reinforces your negative behavior, where you have a lot of people following you who say, stay after him.
That's what I'm talking about, Jamal. You're right.
Go get him. Okay. All I can say is, this sums up my feelings about Jamal Adams. I can't tell you how thankful I am, how relieved I am that he is not now a Dallas Cowboy, especially for 2 1s and a 3.
No.
Stop it. And remember, Jamal grew up in the Dallas area. It's Louisville and Carrollton that he went to high school in Carrollton, but he's in the Dallas area, grew up a big Cowboy fan. Made it very abundantly clear on social media, I want to be a Dallas Cowboy, and now he is a Seattle Seahawk.
Right.
And I say, God bless you, Seattle. Pete Carroll has a reputation. He's very prideful about, I've always been able to coach difficult to coach players, especially when they're talented.
Right.
And they think they have a Cam Chancellor who has a little more coverage range probably than Cam had.
Agree. Yeah.
So you've got a special football player who was not able to lift the Jets out of mediocrity or below mediocrity, obviously, because what were his 3 records? 5-11, 4-12, and 7-9. Now, again, that's not all his fault because it's not a very good football team.
Correct.
But what I'm saying is, don't tell me he's a leader of a football team. Don't tell me he's transcendent, a difference maker.
Right.
He's not that kind of player.
Right.
Like Ed Reed was that kind of player from that position. I believe Earl Thomas was that kind of player. But Cam Chancellor and Earl Thomas, back in the storied days of Legion of Boom, they were more we players than me players. To me, both of them were. As talented as they both were, even Richard at that point, Richard Sherman, he could be a me guy, but they were a we. They were a
the
group.
Legion of Boom.
I think they bought into that. I'm not sure Jamal will ever buy into a we type situation. He is a me player. He's a solo act. He's a gifted solo act. He was the 6th overall pick out of LSU, but it sort of sums up his career. Look what happened after him in the draft. Just can I put him in perspective? Who went 8th? A guy you watched grow up in your locker room, right?
Yep.
Little McCaffrey. Okay. So he went 8th, and then guess who went 10th? My homeboy. And guess who went 12th? Deshaun. And for what it's worth, guess who went 30th in that draft? A kid named T.J. Watt, who just gets a little better, and his motor runs so hot. I can make a case that over the long term, T.J. Watt will have more impact in this league than Jamal will. So the point is, I'm not saying he's a loser, but some of his intangibles are what I describe as losers' intangibles.
Right.
So I don't love this unless Pete can say, watch what I do. Now, John Schneider has plunged many times. He went after Percy Harvin and then Jimmy Graham. And remember Sheldon Richardson, and it's been one guy after another where he said on Jadeveon. They said we're gonna take the plunge here. Now, they haven't replunged with Jadeveon.
Well, Skip, I think the thing is that Seattle reminds me of Baltimore. I think that especially when you go to the defensive side of the football, you buy in. Because you had guys that laid the framework. You had a Ray Lewis, you had an Ed Reed, a Suggs. So everybody that came in after that, you still have Bobby Wagner, you still have KJ Wright, you still have the core pieces, a few of those core pieces that was a part of the Legion of Boom, that when they went to the Super Bowl, when they were dominant, those guys are still there. There's no question. Bobby Wagner is the best player on that defense. He's an all-decade player, a Pro Bowl, perennial All-Pro, year in and year out. So he is the de facto boss of that defense. Now, if Jamal can get their buy-in, like, look, it ain't no more me, it's we. It's about us. See, you got all those stats, and, he quick to list this stat. He and J.J. Watt are the only guys that got 20 sacks and this many interceptions, this many forced fumbles. What the hell you want? Oh, that's finally good. Okay, I get the stats are good. Okay, what are the Lombardies that go along with that? So at the end of the day, that's what they're trying to do in Seattle. Because once you've tasted that success, and maybe once Jamal get to the playoffs and win and sees what it's like, stats are good, but it's all about team because you play a team sport.
You do.
And so for me, Skip, and you look at DeAndre Hopkins, went for a second rounder. I give you can have Jamal Adams, you get D-Hop. I'm taking D-Hop.
Likewise.
Darius Slay went for a 3rd and a 5th.
He did.
Stephon Diggs went for a 1, 4, 5, and a 6. I mean, but I just think Seattle, their average pick over the last 5 drafts is 23rd, and they haven't been that good.
Well, they better be real good in the next couple of years so they devalue those draft picks.
So they stay in the 20s. Because you best rather have a losing season. All of a sudden, that's a team or a top 10 pick. Not going to be, but I don't see that happen. Russ is too, Skip. Russ is gotten better and better and better every single year. And so I believe they'll be, and I think that's what you're counting on, Skip. They said, we're going to be good, and we're going to be able to continue to draft late in the draft. And so there's no one that we're going to find down there that's going to be that guy. But we'll see. We'll see over the next couple of years. But the Jets, if you think about, Skip, what they've drafted over the last 6, 7 years, those guys aren't on the team.
No.
You can't build a championship team. Your best players somehow keep leaving. So there's something going on. They need to do a thorough investigation of how they're doing business, because none of their top draft picks, Skip, somehow finish their careers or even get 4 or 5 years with the team.
And I'm still not sold on Sam Darnold because I wasn't before the draft.
Right.
And he better be right or they're going to be really wrong.
Yeah.
Download the all-new Fox Sports app now.